up, Universe? It's your boy C-Dubs here, and I'm going to be counting down the best movies of 2018, but I can't do this alone. It's just too big for one-man job.
Yeah, that's a good... Wait.
That's what? Right. We're back!
Oh, God. What up, Comic Universe? We're back.
That's right.
We're reunited and it feels so good.
What, Wonder Twins? Form of ice bucket.
Form of self-dignity.
And that's right, guys. We are going to be counting down our favorite movies of 2018. I know it's a little late in the year, but we had to wait to do this together, so we had to... Life finds a way to get away, like I always say. So here we go. Yeah, we're going to start off from number 10. And again, if your list doesn't match our list, that's totally cool. Let us know in the comments below. Of course, my list is always right, so I don't care what you say. Just joking.
I put up with this.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. So we're gonna count it down from 10 to 1, and of course, with us having a lot of the same interests and a lot of the same likes, we're gonna have some duplicate movies here. But it'll be interesting to see where they place on the actual list. I'm gonna pretend like I don't know what his list is already, but we're gonna kick off with mine at number 10. Is actually a really late entry into 2018. It is Aquaman. Jason Momoa and his badass self, if you will, prove that kind of giving in a little bit and doing things slightly in a Disney way can kind of get you. And what I mean by that is just being a little more lighthearted, a little more colorful, not that gray palette that we were used to with the DC cinematic universe. And if that's your thing, that's great. But for me, I really enjoyed it. I just, I kind of knew what to expect with it. That's kind of why it's at the 10th spot for me.
I would say this is an honorable mention for me. I mean, like, there were so many good movies, and I was actually, like, kind of, like, half and half on this movie. And there's still some things in this movie I'm still like, I don't know. But Jason Momoa, I still think that he would have been better as Lobo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he would have made a better Lobo.
Hands down.
Yeah. Like, there are even some moments in the movie where I'm like, he should have been Lobo.
I still agree, absolutely.
Yeah. But this is still a good movie. I think it's I don't need every DC movie to be like an MCU movie, but this is definitely like, if you wanted to break away from, the Snyder stuff we've done so far, this is a good way to break away from it, and hopefully Shazam will be the real testing ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My number 10 is Upgrade. This movie, if you hated Venom like I did, this is a nice little palate cleanser, because it's basically techno Venom.
Yeah, basically, it is definitely a better Venom movie, just without the inkiness, if you will.
Yeah, it's actually like the actor Logan Marshall Green looks like Tom Hardy.
He is a poor man's version, for sure.
He is poor man Hardy. The storyline in here is really good. The action is fantastic, and the twist ending made me go, oh.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind if this was expanded upon.
I'm actually hoping that it will be.
It actually I think it outsold and it was better on Rotten Tomatoes than Solo was competing in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it did make a pretty decent amount of money, and I put this movie in the same vein as a John Wick, in the sense of it was this little action movie that no one seen coming, and then just by sheer word of mouth it gained somewhat of a following. So I can see it doing better and having maybe a second.
We're getting a lot of that lately, of these little action movies that everyone thinks is gonna suck, and then wow, it's actually like kind of artsy.
Absolutely. I'm going from the end of the year to the very beginning of the year. The first movie I saw of 2018 was Annihilation. And this movie is not for everyone. If you saw it, you probably forgot that you saw it, to be honest with you, because it's really, really weird. And I forget the line of books that it's actually based off of, but they really do stray a lot away from it. I read the first book, but again, I can't remember the damn title of it. I read it after I watched the movie, too, because I enjoyed the movie so much. But this is a movie, just kind of put it out there, there's this bubble that they call the Shimmer, this meteor crashed from space, and it has caused this dome over this certain section of the Earth, and it's continuously growing. And everything within inside this bubble is essentially just kind of changing. Some for the better, some for the worse, some melding together, and it's all becoming basically one entity. And it's just really, really crazy. The things that go on in it, you get to see like a plant, shark, gator hybrid. It's really, really gnarly, and one of the scariest things I've ever seen in cinema happens in this movie. There is this basically, there's a mutated bear, and it sounds like a human, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, so I actually wanted to, but I never could, like, shit happened. So.
Yeah, of course.
My number 9 is Overlord, a pretty much Call of Duty Zombies the movie. It is so balls to the wall, but there's like a bit of heart to it, and it's a little action movie that could. Like, no one thought that this was going to be as good as it was. There was just so much amount of action, and this is one of the bloodiest movies I've seen in a while. Like, that's compared to another movie on my list. Like, comparatively speaking, this movie is definitely like Saving Private Ryan's level of blood.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is a movie that actually I didn't get around to seeing. It is definitely on my list, on my to-do list for 2018, just haven't gotten around to it. But I was definitely intrigued, and, personally I like Bad Robot, and other people did it, right? Yeah, Bad Robot. Most of their movies I genuinely like, so I definitely give this a shot.
Yeah.
My number 8 is actually might surprise a lot of people, okay? Because this is not a movie I saw in the cinema, and this is a movie that actually, up until pretty recently here, guys, was in my top 5. It literally took the end of the year to knock it out of my top 5, and it is Ritual on Netflix. If you haven't seen this movie, it's still out there. Go get it. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's basically the craziest version of what Loki, I would say, right? That's what it was.
It was like one of his
that's right. It was a child of Loki. Basically, is just wreaking havoc in the wilderness, and unfortunately, these campers find their way into this madness. And the visual art, everything about it, I loved. We watched it together.
Yeah, actually, I remember I recommended it.
Yeah, and then we rewatched. I think we rewatched it when we stayed at the house. But man, this movie just stuck with me in. Personally, it's my favorite horror movie of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say if we were doing by Netflix movies this year, Bird Box would not be on this list. Fuck that movie.
What?
You're blind, not deaf.
Oh, shoot.
You'll have to speak louder. I can't see you.
I see.
Oh God. So anything else?
No, it was just really good.
Yeah. So my number 8 is also a horror movie, Halloween 2018. Now I know you weren't feeling it.
It's okay. I don't feel it as much as everybody, but
I enjoyed it because I was so afraid for this movie.
Right. Reason, absolutely.
Yeah, multiple reasons. Resurrection, and then you had the Rob Zombie movies, and then you had Danny McBride as the head writer of this movie. I was just gonna say that. And I was really nervous about this, and there are some flaws looking back on the movie, but it's not like over the top flaws.
Right, I would agree.
And they make Michael terrifying again. Like it's nice to have Michael
as the Shape.
Yeah, and Jamie Lee Curtis definitely gives a great performance
every time. Even in the bad movie.
Even in bad movie, like she will find a way to save that movie.
Absolutely. She's always the best. Even H2O, she's always the best thing that I've seen in those bad movies.
It's definitely I know this movie is definitely going to give praise. This is probably how Leprechaun Returns, because it followed the same thing of disregarding all the sequels except the first movie.
And in a lot of ways, I mean, especially for Leprechaun, that's I think the good way to go. With Halloween, I did like the movie. I don't think it was as good as some people. I mean, some people fanboy over Halloween regardless. So, and I get that. My only biggest beef with this is I genuinely like the first movie and the second movie in the original.
That's fair.
So I hate that. That's my biggest gripe about it, is that the second continuity, because it all happens in the same night. I mean, so I think that this movie really should have just taken place after 2, in my opinion. But then, unfortunately, he would have been related to her if they had kept that.
Yeah, and I actually like that they're not related. Like, it just kind of gives more. There's no reason. I've always enjoyed Michael just being.
Right. It always breaks down to nature versus nurture, right? When it comes to Michael.
Yeah. But that's my thing, is I just like Michael, there's no reason he wasn't abused or anything. Thanks Rob Zombie. Right. But I just like that having Michael back to just being a monster that you just can't understand.
Right. Yeah, he definitely was that, for sure.
Yeah. So that's my number 8.
So my number 7, we've actually already talked about it, so we're going to zip through this one, is Upgrade. And for me, my favorite thing about this movie was the fight choreography. In terms of, it wasn't necessarily flippy or anything like that. It's just that the acting that he was portraying was not in a fight. He was like, oh my god, he was terrified of everything that was going on.
Yeah,
but meanwhile, he's freaking Neo in the Matrix.
Yeah, I like how that's how good of an actor he was.
Exactly. And I think because of that, this guy needs more roles. And I don't want to be. I think it's an insult to call him a poor man's version of Tom Hardy. After now thinking about it, because how difficult it is to be like scared and then be like
killing
badass
people
at the same time. Yeah, it was fantastic. Check it out if you haven't, Universe.
Yeah. My number 7 is Incredibles 2. God, this was worth the wait.
Yeah, it really, really was.
I really enjoyed this, and definitely one of the best fights.
Oh, I told you about it before you saw the movie. I said you gotta see this.
Yeah, and I love the hell, like, especially the best fight, one of the best fights in superhero movies is between a baby and a raccoon.
Absolutely.
It's adorable and awesome at the same time, but the story itself is really cool and how they deal with... I've always said that the Incredibles movies are like Watchmen for kids.
Sure, yeah, I can see it for
like,
that.
Because it follows the same themes as Watchmen.
Sure, and they're also the best Fantastic Four movie we've ever
had. Exactly.
Even though there's 5 of them, technically,
yeah.
but... this is actually my honorable mention. This would be my number 11, and I don't have any reason other than these movies on this list I like more. But I did absolutely love that movie, and I need a part 3 because I want to know what the hell's going on underground with the freaking guy that got away in the beginning.
The Underminer.
Yeah, I really want to know what's going on.
I wouldn't mind them doing like it because there was talk of an animated series with them.
That would work too.
I think that would work better. Like,
I mean, it would be cool because it gives us more content and would allow us to dive deeper into their universe.
I'd like to see like what the villains are like.
Right, but I don't want to wait 15 more years for part 3. So if we're gonna get part 3 in like 3 to 5 years, I'm all for another movie. If not, give us a series, Disney. Yeah. So moving on, my number 6.
Actually, our number 6.
Oh yeah, so we'll talk about this one together. Number 6. Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And this movie, I can't give enough praise, and it's so good possibly because how bad the other ones were. I got a nice Bumblebee head for this one. So how bad the original versions were, considering, I'm a Gen 1 guy. I've been watching Transformers since he was probably in diapers, to be honest.
No, I didn't even exist.
Fuck you. Yes, I'm old, okay? Let's get over that.
Old Man Dubs, coming in March 2019.
That's it. Yes, that sounds like an epic movie, to be honest with you. Especially the part when you get into my life. That'd be really interesting. But no, this movie is the best way to describe it, and it really doesn't do it enough justice, is it's very E.T.-like with a lot of retro 80s nostalgia.
But it doesn't throw it in your face.
Right, and it doesn't do that. And it's so much more. My only thing that I didn't like about it, but I don't want to make it seem like he was bad, was John Cena. And what I mean by that is that there were times where I think he could have been a real stand-up hero through the whole movie, but just trying to do his job. But halfway through the movie, he's actually kind of seems like he's a bad guy. And I don't want to give it away what happens at the end, but that was my only thing. He really could have just been... I think it would have been really cool if he was the type of character to where I have a job to do. Unfortunately, I have to do what I got to do. This is my job. And it would have shown his acting skills there, but he didn't do a bad job.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about Bumblebee?
Man, Travis Knight, I was, like, when I found out, because he had directed Kubo and the Two Strings,
yes,
and, like, a lot of the Like You movies, and I was like, wow, this is going to be good. I did like the triple changers.
Yes.
And there was the deleted scene of that we were going to get G1 Megatron, but because the continuity was in, we didn't get that.
Right.
So, and also, that Cybertron scene.
I was just going to say, yeah. That proves that we don't humans interacting, and we have focused sometimes a little too much on the humans. That Cybertron scene showed that we could have a total CG fest, and I would go see that movie.
Exactly.
I don't need humans in it. I will throw my money at a Cybertron.
I've said, like, because there's talk of a Optimus Prime solo movie, I was like, just do his origin story
right, I'm
on
there.
Cybertron.
So,
yeah.
And I guarantee you that movie will make $1 billion.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And this also, like, just crush it. Like, this has been a standalone solo prequel movie, did better than the entire franchise it's based upon.
Yes. And the actress in it, I think she's pretty good and got a bright future ahead of her.
Exactly.
On to the top 5, right?
Yeah.
And this movie is a movie that is near and dear to my heart, okay? And this is Creed 2. I am a huge Rocky fan, all except for 5. 5 is the only one I don't like, and I think that's generally recognized as the worst one. And I'm very happy that they stopped, and it took many years before it continued. But that heart and soul that you got in the original movies, the original 2 movies, are definitely shown off here. Michael B. Jordan, man, he is quickly climbing up the ranks as one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. This guy knows what he's doing, and even in the crap fest that he was in the Fantastic Four stick,
he waded through that crap.
He was, even though he was bad too, but he was the best of the shit, if you will. And this movie really hit it home for me. We got really in-depth look not in-depth, but enough look into Drago's life and his son's life to where you actually felt, and I will say this, between Aquaman and Creed 2, even though they're small parts,
Dolph
Lundgren has proven this dude really can act. So all the crappy movies he's been in over the years, I don't know what is wrong with him.
He's actually
brilliant. Like a scientist.
Yeah, he's got
biochemist or something.
He's got 2 degrees like bioengineering.
Yeah, the dude's brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. But
everyone just looks at him and it's like, oh, you're big and dumb.
Yeah, and his action movies kind of were never really all that good, but this dude can act. He showed it in these 2 movies.
Yeah, like again, Creed 2 is an honorable mention for me. Like, so my number 5 may come as a shock, but keep in mind these are the top 10 favorite movies out of the hundreds we've seen.
Yeah, right.
So my number 5 is Infinity War.
Dun, dun, dun!
Not number 1, I know. And the reason why for the longest time it was Infinity War at number 1, but then a few other movies came, and I thought about more watching other movies, and other ones came up. But the reason why Infinity War is still like number 5, it's done what no movie has ever done before. Pull off such a huge scale of a film that we didn't even think was possible.
Even while I was watching it, I didn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah. And still do this, and do an ending that made Empire Strike Back go, God damn. Like, pull it back. Like,
yeah.
But this movie just shows of how well Marvel has gotten it down to a science, and as well as all the performances are great. The action sequences are great. I would say, like, what kind of hurts is, again, there were 4 of the movies I personally felt I liked more on a personal scale, and there were, like, a few other things, like, directional-wise, I was kind of like, like, there are some effects and directional-wise, I was kind of like, But still, I'm not discrediting the movie.
Not at all.
It's fantastic. I mean, Thanos, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. We haven't gotten to it on my list. Spoiler alert, it is on my list somewhere, but we'll have to wait a few minutes here to get to it. But so I'm not going to talk too much about, bouncing off of that. But I will say the only negatives I have to that film is just there were some opportunities that could have been made a lot better, and some of the villains could have had a little more shine than they actually did within the film.
Yeah, but I think
Glaive. But
yeah.
But other than that, I liked it. So moving on, my number 4. Mission Impossible Fallout. This is a franchise that's like wine. It just gets better with time. And considering the mess that Tom Cruise found himself in The Mummy, for this movie to come back and make this amount of money, I know it's a different franchise, obviously, but that could have ruined his career. People were and I didn't even hate that movie that much, but a lot of people were hating on that movie. It, in fact, killed plans for many, many sequels. So this could have been the end of his career, and he's come back, and he's jumping on couches after this because it was great. Henry Cavill, he did a really good job. He may be the weakest point of the acting in the movie, I thought, but his presence was very intimidating because he is a large man, definitely compared to
People forget that he is a big dude.
Yeah, he's a monster of a man, especially, I mean, it's not saying much when you're standing next to Tom Cruise, who's 2'2", but dude, really, it was really, really good. Check it out if you're into espionage and high action.
Mission Impossible has become like the American James Bond.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. Absolutely, I would agree with that for sure.
But yeah, like that's cool. I mean, I've never been a Mission Impossible guy, maybe because like I'm more of a Bond guy.
I like Bond too, but yeah.
So anything else?
No, moving on.
So my number 4 may come as a shock to people having this over Infinity War, but Deadpool 2.
I wonder what the D in DPZ stands for. But he's not a fan, he says.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna straight up murder you when this video's over. Honestly, like I'm shocked that I put Deadpool 2 over Infinity War, but the reason why is it's so like I feel like with Infinity War the personal stories are good, but they don't go too far into them because again, like the biggest person here is Thanos.
Right, of course.
And here it's funny, Josh Brolin in the same movie. But I feel like the personal story, especially of how Wade deals with loss and how it kind of resolves itself at the end. It's a heartbreaking scene. Like, I almost cried when they got back together. Like, I mean, you as a married man would agree with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the action sequences are, oh my god, those are like you had the director of John Wick behind this. So,
well, one of them.
One of them. But have that all done and with superpowers is excellent. I think Ryan Reynolds kills it in this role, especially in the dramatic, even more so than the funny parts, more with the dramatic parts.
Yeah.
And that after credits scene is hysterical.
I will say this though, I really enjoy the movie. I would say it's in my honorable mention. It would probably make my top 15, top 20 for sure. I've seen well over 100 movies this year. I keep a list of them all, and it would definitely be in there for me. I really did like it. I did not like it as much as the first one. If you don't know, I don't like the character really at all. Like, it's one of my least favorite characters, but I do enjoy the movies a lot. I love the first one, actually. But for me, what really tarnished it was how some people overacted to the movie. It was its fan base more so that ruined it.
Yeah, I can see that. Like,
and that's really it sucks because it's to him, and their fans can get really crazy. And that's a part of the reason why I don't like the character is because of his fan base, and it did kind of leak over into this movie.
Yeah.
And also people were like, "Oh man, Cable was the greatest thing on the planet, Domino," and they were like really minor characters. To be honest with you, they weren't. I mean, Cable a lot more than Domino, but like they were acting like she was the second coming of Superman. I was just like, eh. Yeah. But it was awesome to see the Juggernaut as the shape of the Juggernaut. That alone gives it in the top 20 for me for sure.
Yeah, totally. I will agree with you on the fan base thing going overboard. Like Deadpool fans are the dude bros of Marvel
for sure.
But I do enjoy this movie on a personal scale. It's a tearjerker at some points, and it really balances out the humor and drama. So yeah.
And I have seen Once Upon a Deadpool myself as well. Obviously, I like the R-rated version a lot better. But the 15 minutes or so that were added into the movie were absolutely hysterical because I am a huge Princess Bride fan, and I would probably put both of those movies in my top 20. That's how much I like that Fred Savage stuff. So that was top on you. If you haven't seen that one, go see it. It's worth a check because at the very least, that might be how we get Deadpool from now on, being PG-13. So it might be just worth going to check, see if it's something that you can stomach. Moving on, my number 3, Infinity War. And he said everything I really wanted to say, but the one thing that he didn't really say was, I think in the analogs of movie history, we have a few villains that have been considered the greatest of all time for many, many years. Darth Vader being one of them, Hannibal Lecter being another. Those are usually, like, if you look at, like, the movie, like, any reputable place is going to have them probably in the top 5. And I think Thanos now has definitely kicked in the door, waving 4-4s everywhere, saying, this is my... Yeah, he literally snapped his way, top 3 at the very least. I think he may have actually even outdone the Dark One himself, he's definitely better than in the comics. And I know that's sacrilegious to say. He's really one-dimensional, especially in the early days, just doing it all out of love, and I guess that is kind of unique then. But as the years pass and we have evolved and things like that, just doing something because you love somebody, murdering thousands and millions of people and species is just not cool because you love somebody, But this made him seem sympathetic, and, every villain is the hero of his own story, and it probably doesn't go to say any bit more than... this guy right here,
Yeah, and now it just makes you wonder, like, what do you do? Where are they going with Thanos now in Endgame?
Yeah, and how do they top that? Like, sure, in scale and power, and sometimes even going backwards, like Doctor Doom, sure, but how are you gonna make it? Like, I don't know. Yeah. They got a big hill to climb.
So, my number 3 can be summed up with 2 words: Wakanda forever. Yeah, Black Panther. This, for the longest time, was my number one movie. Oh my god, this movie fired on all cylinders from the get-go. It's a spy movie. It's a superhero movie. It is every actor in here gives it their all every time they're on screen.
I agree. And real quick, because no need to waste any time, it's my number 2 on this list, and it was my number 1 literally up until like the second to last week of December. So I'm with you on this. I called this movie years ago. Like I said, this movie was gonna shatter shit. Like I just because of understanding the concept of who he is, being political, a superhero. He's a spy at times. He's everything. Like he fits every mold, and in many ways, in my opinion, he's more Batman than the Punisher or Daredevil could ever hope to be in a lot of ways. And I'm also the soundtrack to that CD or to that movie is fantastic. Andy Serkis freaking kills it, and I hope we get more of him.
And Michael B. Jordan.
And Michael B. We've already talked ad nauseum when we reviewed that movie, but
he is the scene stealer.
And that is another villain I think that may have kicked his way at least into the top 10 of greatest villains in movie history as well. And it was just absolutely amazing. I will say though, the ending, and I'm kind of over the whole the Marvel doing this basically to fight a mirror image of yourself, a mirror match, if you will. You know, the like Killmonger and Iron Man in the first one, and then just having 2 Black Panthers essentially go at each other might have been a little lackluster, but overall,
the themes of it,
yes,
yeah,
the bells ring, and as 2 white guys sitting on a couch talking to you guys, those themes of that movie even touched us. So yes, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, like this became a cultural phenomenon
for sure.
Yeah. My number 2 is A Quiet Place. This was a horror movie that I was really like interested in, just the premise alone, and Jesus Christ, John Krasinski, you killed it in this movie. The whole cast just was amazing. Not only like 30 words of dialogue in this whole movie, and the emotion. There was more emotion in here than some of the movies on the list. Like everything in here, you feel, even without saying a word. You feel it, the terror, the tension. Even in the theater I was in, like no one wanted to make a noise. Like
yeah.
like that's how good of an effect it was. This movie was just not only a great horror movie, it was a great drama. The story behind it is fantastic, and again, fuck Bird Box. Just like, I know the book came out years before A Quiet Place was even a thing, but fuck that movie.
I don't mind Bird Box that much, but for me, I unfortunately did not get to see this in the theater, and this is definitely the way this movie was meant to have been seen, just because of the little excess noise of eating popcorn or slurping on a drink or a cough or a sneeze. It's like,
You're dead.
Yeah, exactly. That was the whole point. I will say the uniqueness, the concept, this is definitely probably in my top 15 movies of the year, top 20 for sure. The only problem is, again, I saw it at home. I Redboxed it, so it didn't live up to the cinematic experience, but it was really good. One of the most unique movies I've seen in the past 10 years. Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. Check it out if you haven't.
So, our number 1, it's the same one. It's Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Spider-Man Enter the Spider-Verse.
What else can you say? This movie, like, here's the thing is that there was so much against this movie. Like, it was a Sony movie. It was, trying to do the origin of Miles and the entire Spider-Verse.
It was animated.
Yeah.
It was the first time we were getting that in theaters. So, and coming out on Christmas, battling Aquaman, battling Bumblebee, battling Mary Poppins. All these movies came out at the end that were big family movies. Came out during the holidays where you want to spend more time with your family than necessarily go to a movie.
And it killed it.
Yeah, absolutely. The greatest Spider-Man movie of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah. As a fan of Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. This.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, this
and I will say this though, this gave us something that we never would have seen otherwise. 2 things actually. Nick Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Okay, so that means he's been Superman in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and Spider-Man. The dude is awesome. And we also got Spider-Ham, which we never would have seen any other way, so I got to say I'm very happy.
And it's funny enough, Spider-Ham gets one of the most dramatic scenes.
Oh, yeah. And I was lucky enough to see this movie at a pre-screening. So I was super hyped to go and be able to go see that, and it was so dope. Everybody, when it was over, everyone was clapping, kids were cheering, even the adults were clapping because that's how good it was. And I will say this in this movie, it made the stuff that were cringeworthy in Spider-Man 3, the Raimi Spider-Man 3, made me chuckle and enjoy. So the whole dancing and, we got that little cutscene just as a nod to the fans, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the after credit scene, I fucking died.
Oh, dude, it was the best. Might be the one, definitely. Oh, God, that was so good. I don't want to spoil it. You got to check it out if you haven't already. Every character has their time to shine. Of course, some more than others. But there's a lot of heart in the movie. You get to see the emotion of trying to learn to become a hero. Just seeing a Spider-Man go down in front of another Spider-Man was just, and that sounds really bad, but basically one of them dies in the very beginning of the movie, and Miles made me cry. I cried in that movie because of that.
And this is definitely this has actually got the best Spider-Man action out of all
Oh,
movies.
yeah. Well, it's a lot easier to do when it's animated, for sure.
But, that final fight between Miles and Kingpin...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the art style, the soundtrack, you were just saying. Yeah. It's believe it or not, it actually is better than the Black Panther soundtrack, which... And
I know that sounds like total
great,
heresy.
Which
and
is
it's still a great soundtrack, but, I listened to Spider-Verse soundtrack, when I was in the movie, I was like, oh yeah, I like this more than the Black Panther.
And it also gave us a Christmas album. It's a total farce, and it's funny. It's not really made for reality, if you will, but it's totally funny. Spider-Man sings the Christmas carols. It's hysterical, and of course he changes the words to match his own.
Yeah.
And it's not Chris Pine. Chris Pine actually voices Spider-Man in the Christmas album. Fantastic.
And it's funny because he actually improv that whole thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Miles has shown that he can be his own character, and this is in the same year also where we got the Spider-Man for PS4, which is an amazing story, and that might be the best overall we've ever seen Spider-Man, other than in the comic books, but this definitely met it at the doorstep, proved that it could hold its own, and has shown that Miles has a future and could be a reputable character on screen, regardless of his race or gender.
Yeah, and now I want to see, I can't believe I'm saying this, I want to see Sony do more with this universe.
Yeah, same here. We got Gwen, we got, Nick Cage, I'm all for it.
And we got multiple Spider, we could get a 2099 movie.
Dude, well, that's true. We're not going to spoil that. But yes, that was one of the questions when I first reviewed the movie after my special screening. I had a lot of people ask, all I need to know is, O'Hara in there. Is 2099 in there? And I was like, I'm not saying a word. Not saying a word. But yes, he's in there, but you have to see it for yourself in order to tell us if you like it. So guys, that's our list of the top 10 movies for us last year. Let us know in the comments below. Again, I know it's few days into the year, but hey, what can you do? This was the only time we could get together. So let us know in the comments below what you guys thought. Don't forget to smash that like button, give it a thumbs up, and if you give it a thumbs down, let us know why so we can improve, guys.
And see you once more right here in the universe.
Peace.